Diversifying your workforce is the key to sustainable growth, continued development, and collaboration of others, and infusing individuals with disabilities into the workforce is a win-win situation for all, and it will provide your business with a competitive advantage over the competition. This week, I had the humbling privilege of learning all about Ready, Willing, and Able, a program active in 20 communities across the country and funded by the Government of Canada, which is designed to increase the labor force participation of individuals with intellectual disabilities and on the autism spectrum. Maggie Stewart, Siobhan Costello, and Jackie Moore from Carey's Place and Community Living Ontario, respectively, all join me this week to have an inclusive discussion on the importance of inclusive employment and infusing individuals with intellectual disabilities into the workforce. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Ladies, if you're ready, I'll welcome you to the program, and I'm excited to learn all about Ready, Willing, and Able this morning. So great to see all of you, and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So when we look at Ready, Willing, and Able, I know that it works to increase labor force participation for individuals with intellectual disabilities and autism spectrum disorder. So I'll just start you off by asking if you can give me a little bit more about how the framework of the project works, sort of the nuts and bolts of the project.
Yeah, sure. So Ready, Willing, and Able. So we are a Government of Canada project who was put forward through two organizations. So CASDA, the Canadian Autism Spectrum Disorder Alliance, and CACL, so Canadian Association for Community Living, which has just changed to be Inclusion Canada. So that was back in 2014. Those two organizations kind of petitioned the government to say that there was kind of a gap between organizations who supported people with disabilities and then the employers being ready to hire. So we kind of come in and fill that gap and really work with employers to build their confidence and capacity to be able to hire people, with intellectual disabilities and autism spectrum disorder. So the three of us here, we are based in the GTA in Toronto. And our colleagues are across Canada. So we are working in every province and territory, which is great. So if we have like a national employer who wants to hire in one region, we can help them kind of expand across Canada. So yeah, so that's kind of the gist of the program there.
Fantastic, and I know that we all agree and share the same sort of sentiment that people with disabilities, whether they be intellectual or otherwise, can help employers sort of increase their innovation and creativity and sort of give their business a competitive edge. So I'm just wondering if you could comment on sort of that overall sentiment as well.
Absolutely. So, so I think that what we have seen and what we support employers in realizing as well is that there is a competitive advantage from having a diversity within your team, diversity of thought. People with different lived experiences bring different perspectives to problems in the workplace, or and different solutions as well. We really, when we work with employers, we support them to see the business case for hiring inclusively. So we don't go in and say hire someone with an intellectual disability or autism because it is the morally right thing to do. We don't approach it like that. We talk about it because it's something that makes sense for the business. It's something that drives innovation, something that drives all of these really fantastic things for a business in order to, at the end of the day, benefit the bottom line. And a lot of the times too, having these conversations, these are things that employers have never really thought of before, unfortunately. So we are really just wanting to reframe how people think about disability and how people think about diversity and inclusion as being something that is going to drive the business, drive their workplace.
I know that Ready, Willing, and Able has sort of three objectives in terms of supporting employers and persons with disabilities, and also providing an understanding of the business cases you had just mentioned and connecting partners. So I'm wondering if you could give me a more broadly an overview of the three core principles of Ready, Willing, and Able.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the beautiful thing about Ready, Willing, and Able is we're very flexible and we're very customizable based on the type of employer we're working with. And what makes us really unique is that we're solely funded to focus our efforts and our resources on working with employers. So we're not a pre-employment program. We're not designed to support people with an intellectual disability or ASD in getting ready for employment. That is very much not what we do, because there's a lot of great organizations and programs out there that do that work, and those are our partners, and that's how we access what we call our network, as we partner with those organizations, and we wouldn't be able to function without our partnerships. So what our sole focus is to work with the employers, because I think there's a lot of interest in hiring people with disabilities, but employers don't know how to go about it. And so that's where we come in, and that's where we have a lot of value in working with businesses. So, you know, it's very, like I said, it's very customizable. A business could come to us and say, okay, we've been thinking about doing this, and we haven't been getting people coming through our regular recruitment efforts with disabilities, or they may be getting people, but they don't disclose, or they get screened out in the interview process or the recruitment process. So what we do is we work with that business, we learn about their recruitment process, and we start to explore what kind of roles they want to pilot it with. We always suggest just piloting it to work out a good sort of process. And we help them sort of identify any like unintentional barriers that exist in their recruitment process to make it more inclusive to our candidates. So to make it really simple, a really easy way to look at the way we work is an employer that we've partnered with will give us a job posting, and then we share it with our network, and that is our community partners that work directly with the job seekers that are within our network. So then we collect candidates from them, and we share it with the employer, and we say, here's some candidates that are interested and qualified for this role, and here's how you can get them through the recruitment process barrier-free or as barrier-free as possible. And we're there to sort of consult and support them in that process. And then we also stay connected to them through making sure that that person is successful. So sometimes employers will reach out to us and say, we have some questions around how to support this person, because we've noticed that they're having some issues around this particular task, and we can go in and say, if you just implement this sort of strategy, this might help this situation. And so we help them sort of make sure that the environment is supportive and inclusive and successful for those employees.
Talking about supportive environments and inclusion, certainly COVID-19 has disproportionately affected people with disabilities, no matter the spectrum. So I'm wondering, what sort of challenges have arisen for all of you during this COVID-19 pandemic, and how have you overcome them?
I think we've seen, like the rest of the world, kind of, a lot of changes. So a lot of our people in our network lost their jobs, had a reduction in hours. So there's been a lot of, unfortunate side effects there. But one of the things that we kind of were able to see is how quickly employers were kind of able to shift and pivot and really transform their workforce overnight to be almost entirely remote, so work from home. So these are also, we were able to see kind of some of the things that our sector has kind of been asking for a while now in terms of accommodations for people with disabilities, and that some employers were maybe a bit hesitant to implement, didn't know if it was going to affect their business, didn't know, what to do. But then overnight with the pandemic, the world had to adapt, right? And overnight, everyone had to shift to juggle competing priorities. So having kids at home, having homeschooling, not being able to go anywhere. So with, different shifts. So these are some of the things that we were seeing that COVID-19 is kind of exposed a bit. So we're hoping that with this, that employers are kind of being able to see, oh, some of my employees can work a split shift to take care of their kids, and they can still get their work done. They can work at home, not be in the office, still get their work done. So things that we were kind of saying, people that we represent might need a break in their workday, or might need to have kind of split up time, or have other priorities that come in. And now we can see that doesn't distract from the project and the outcomes of someone's work. So that's at least something that we're hoping that kind of the pandemic can show to employers, is that you can give accommodations to people, and it's not creating a special job, or it's not creating, their version of work. They're still achieving the outcomes that they're supposed to at work in a way that allows them to be, their best version of themselves at work. So I think that's one, if there's a silver lining kind of thing, to show that, this was able to be done, and we hope that it can continue to be enforced.
And I know you've talked this morning about providing a barrier-free environment to employers, and I know that you work hard to establish new relationships. So I'm going to open the floor to all of you to sort of give your pitch to recruit some new employers. What would be your message to employers that may be watching this, who may be interested in getting involved in Ready, Willing, and Able?
Yeah, so I can jump in on this one. It's, a main message that we really want to get across is that it's not hard to do, and it's really just it should be seen as common practice, right? I think that a message that we like to convey is that you're not going above and beyond in hiring somebody with a disability. You just need to utilize the excellent resources that are in your community, like Ready, Willing, and Able, and many others, to help you recruit and really access this undertapped talent pool that is out there. I think the biggest barrier to folks on the spectrum and people with an intellectual disability is misconceptions that they can't do the job, and that is absolutely not the case. They are very skilled, they're very motivated, eager to work, they're wonderful employees, and they just need an opportunity to be considered for roles, because they're historically always screened out and competing against other people are not being considered. So really the message I want to give to employers is that use the resources that are available. Everything we do is fully funded. Everything we do is free. So, there's really nothing to lose in just reaching out to us, and you can do that by going onto our website. We are, like Siobhan mentioned, we're a national initiative, so we're in every province and territory across Canada. So you just have to check out, depending on where you are, who the staff is, and our emails are there, and we'd love to hear from you.
From a job seeker's perspective, for families or any potential job seekers who may be watching this, what would be your message to them as well?
Zoom error, I muted myself. Sorry, I think that what we'd say for job seekers, so like Maggie mentioned earlier, we don't work with job seekers ourselves. So we have created that agency network of ours. So we do get family members and job seekers who reach out to us just by the nature of our work. So we kind of, will talk to them a little bit to figure out where they live and kind of help them get connected to one of our agency partners. So that's really the way that we can support job seekers. So when we kind of share those opportunities, they go to all our whole network of agency partners. So anyone who was a client of those agencies can benefit from accessing and applying to our opportunities.
And I'm curious to also know the importance you all feel about collaborating with other community agencies to sort of share resources and best practices.
Yeah, collaborating with different community partners is a huge piece of the work that we do. I think we feel so fortunate in the sector that we're in that so many people are so wanting to be collaborative. And when we're talking about some best practices as well, just thinking of something that's quite timely with COVID-19 in kind of some circles and networks that we're part of. There's been a lot of sharing of how to implement job coaching or on-the-job supports with different technologies that exist, like how to use Zoom as a way to provide someone with on-the-job support when it may not be considered super safe to have multiple bodies in a workplace right now, just with physical distancing being a priority within Ontario. So yeah, but we definitely find that it ends up making us so much better at our jobs too when we collaborate with different organizations, gain those different perspectives. I often see that, or often think about with Ready, Willing, and Able, we have almost two different pillars to the work that we do. One of those is creating our network of community partners that we engage with, and the other being creating that network of employers that we support as well. And they're both equally as important to the success of what we do, and that success being supporting individuals to enter the labor market.
And finally, I'm just wondering if you could provide some thoughts on just hiring people with disabilities in general and the importance of that, and where you hope Ready, Willing, and Able may be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely. So I think I'll answer the second kind of part to your question first. But when we think about where we'll be in the future, I think that there is a big hope that Ready, Willing, and Able will not have to exist. I think we have a big hope that we'll be able to support employers in not only just realizing the business benefits of hiring inclusively, but also support employers to equip them with confidence and equip them with skills in order to realize unintentional barriers that exist within their hiring process, and also to be aware of how to create a more actually work to create a more inclusive and diverse team. So I think really when I look towards the next 5 to 10 years, I hope that we don't exist. I think we've been saying that for the duration. I've been in the project for 4 years now, and been saying it for the duration of it that we'd like to put ourselves out of jobs. Yeah, and really, what I would say to employers too, the benefit of hiring inclusively and working together, it really, there are just so many benefits, and it really is. It really is something that enriches all different aspects of a business, and we'd love to connect. We'd love to support you in realizing all of that. I don't know if Maggie and Siobhan, if you have more you want to add to that as well.
No,
Yeah,
that's great, Jackie.
To echo what you're saying, like we do a lot of education and training as well to our employers. So just to make sure, even if they don't necessarily have a hiring need at the moment, but they are still kind of interested in, how do I make sure my workforce is inclusive and diverse? So we still would want to work with people like that, just to provide those tools, like Jackie said, so that the employer themselves feels empowered to go on and to carry on these practices without kind of an agency like us supporting us. But it's great to, be at that first kind of step and then have the employer take it from there.
Well, ladies, I know that we all share a collective passion and spirit to eradicating unemployment for individuals with disabilities. I really want to thank all of you for your time this morning and sharing a little bit about Ready, Willing, and Able and how we diversify workforces. I want to thank all of you for being here, and I really enjoyed our conversation this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
You did
Kevin.
too. Thanks for having us, Kevin.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
That wasn't that bad.